طب احنا هنسمع ميوت.
خلاص سيبونا.
يبقى
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our monthly webinar for September. In this webinar, we are going to discuss about certification marks and trade. As you all know, the idea of trade requires that you are able to understand the quality and safety of the product that you're buying. And in that case, all products that are traded would normally come with an indicator of whether they have been certified by a certain body. And in this case, when the body has certified them, is an assurance that the product either meets the standards and is fit for purpose, for whatever purpose it is being applied to. And therefore, you are confident, it creates the confidence in you to purchase that product for the use that you're intending to put it to. In the African continent, you are all aware about the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. In this case, there's the aspiration or objective that in the whole concept of African integration, we should be able to have free movement of goods. Now, free movement of goods has conditions attached to that so that they don't simply get picked up and then they are moving, but rather that there are conditions they must fulfill in order for them to enjoy that free movement. Now, one of the things that is identified in the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is that the product must meet specific standards which are specific to them in terms of quality, safety, and of course, value for money in use. So how does that come in? You find Annex 6 of the AfCFTA agreement, which says that these products need to meet those standards for them to enjoy free movement of goods. And the standards in this case are either coming from the African Organization for Standardization, or they are coming from the African Commission for Electrotechnical Standards. So there are two bodies charged with this particular aspect. That is the ARSO and AfCFTA. And today we are looking at the products which are meeting the requirements to get a mark or marks from the African Organization for Standardization. In that case, we are looking at specific marks, and for us to have a good overview of what happens, we shall be looking at experiences from the national levels of the member states of the African Organization for Standardization, as well as looking at the European Union to understand how they have operated the marks that enable free movement of goods within the European Union. For our guests come from quite a number of good backgrounds, and we believe that they should be able to give us the information that is necessary for us to understand. Now, what are the challenges that we face in the continent? Of course, before the AfCFTA agreement came into place, you realize that we had quite a challenging perspective in terms of the countries being in very many free trade agreements. You find our countries in 5 regional economic communities, and in each of these, the requirements are different. But this is to change in the short run as we embark on implementing the AfCFTA agreement, in that we are looking at having one agreement that facilitates trade among 55 member states. And that for that to happen, you're also looking at what can enable you to do that free movement of goods. In this case, we are looking at having continental marks that could potentially be adopted by all member states. And in that case, then it becomes possible that if you see a product meeting an African standard or an international standard that is designated for that product, then it is possible that there is recognition that the product meets the requirements which are acceptable to all the 55 member states, and therefore they can enjoy free movement in the continent. Now, that is what we are going to be looking at. And for us to set in motion some of the activities, we shall be looking at the panelists giving us views, two from national level, and then we have one from the private sector and one from the European Union that will highlight the kind of operations that they have put in place and that which has made the trade possible. The questions that you'll be having, we will be very appreciative if you can actually type them in the chat so that the panelists can answer them in turn, so that again, we can also collect the questions and respond to them in case they are not responded to within the seminar, the webinar duration. I will start directly with one of our panelists, that's Dr. Geoffrey Murila. Dr. Murila is currently the Director of Quality Assurance and Inspection at the Kenya Bureau of Standards, which oversees the quality of products manufactured locally or those that are imported to ensure that they meet the relevant standards. He is a biochemist and molecular biologist with broad expertise and experience in analytical biochemistry and biotechnology of natural products and foods. He has a hands-on skills on development of methods of test and applications in conformity assessment. He's a risk assessor for products of modern biotechnology, novel foods, and cell-based food products. So he's a trainer of ISO IEC 17025 and good laboratory practices, method validation and verification, measurement and certainty and evaluation of proficiency testing data, and interlaboratory comparisons. So Dr. Murila, as we discussed during our preparatory aspects, I request you proceed with the presentation. Dan, you can project for Dr. Murila.
Okay. Thank you, Ruben, for the kind introduction, and good afternoon, fellow colleagues in Africa. I want to take you through this presentation, whereby I will be talking about quality marks in enhancing consumer confidence and to facilitate trade. Why this topic is important to us today, you realize that Africa is the second largest and the second most populous continent in the world, with about 1.4 billion people, but there is negligible inter-African trade. You look at Africa Union Agenda 2063, it envisions an inclusive and sustainable development, actually a continuation of the Pan-African drive over centuries for unity, self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity for all nations in Africa. I want to say that beyond tax regimes that are implemented in different nations in Africa, mutually recognized and accepted conformity assessment systems plays a bigger role to promote trade and economic development in the continent. I want to take you through our product certification process in Kenya that is being administered by certification body in KEBS. Basically, there are 4 steps, starting with application, evaluation of the application, review of the application, and decision. And I want to say that this process is anchored on the best international practice, that is ISO 17065, whereby in the application, you have a legally recognized entity, that is Kenya Bureau of Standards. There are fees that differs on the size of the farm or the industry, where we have like a small micro enterprises being having subsidized rates, and the large farms, they have also different charges for the certification. Then we have initial assessment, which looks at the documentation, the application itself, before we move to evaluation. In the evaluation, there is a site inspection of the facility according to different standards, which would probably be like the code of practice that can address various requirements that will ensure that quality product can be produced. It's followed by sampling and the testing of the samples. And then there is development of a scheme of supervision and control, which forms like a certification contract between the industry and the certification body. This application is now reviewed by a competent supervisor who observes the standard and is guided by confidentiality and also impartiality to ensure that the decision that is made can produce a certificate that is that can be recognized and valid. And finally, there is a permit approval committee or a permit standardization committee that reviews further and makes a decision granting the permit. So generally, that is our process in Kenya, and it is run by quality assurance officers. We have managers, and we have end of quality assurance department. In this scheme, we operate 3 schemes. One is a standardization mark scheme. This is mandatory for all manufactured products in the country, and it is required for market access for Kenyan products. And this standardization mark is a notified mark for East African community markets according to SQMT Act of the year 2006. Then there is another mark, another scheme that comes with the fortification logo. It's called the Food Fortification Logo Scheme. We do it on behalf of the Ministry of Health, and it means to address deficiencies of macro nutrients in diets in the population, and it is applicable to some foods like wheat and maize flour, edible cooking oils and fats and salts, whereby determined and standardized amount of fortificants like iron, zinc, vitamin A are added to those foods, and we administer that logo on behalf of the Ministry of Health, as I've said. Lastly, we have the Diamond Mark of Quality Scheme, which is a voluntary mark of excellence based on rigorous evaluation of both the product and the process. So product that gets this mark, which is voluntary, are excellent products that actually bypasses the minimum requirement of the standard and are able to demonstrate a high level of compliance. I want to look at the benefits of product certification. One benefit is that it facilitates fair trade practices and opportunities for Kenyan products through mutual recognition of standardization marks, like in the whole of East African markets. Our standardization mark is recognized and it's administered in accordance to East African standards, harmonized standards, and where we do not have harmonized standards, we have Kenya standards or even ARSO or ISO standards. Then number 2, it's a third-party attestation that the product and production process conforms with the requirements set in the standard. That is product specifications, codes, and the scheme rules that I said are developed in the certification contract. On the side of the consumer, the quality marks gives confidence to the consumer that the product in the market has been checked for quality by KEBS. And in terms of on the side of manufacturer, it raises efficiency in manufacturing of goods by streamlining production processes and development of quality control systems. The other benefit is that it raises level of quality awareness to the manufacturers and consumers of the products. It reduces instances of substandard products in the markets, and it enhances responsibility of quality to the manufacturer. And this is clearly indicated in the scheme of supervision and control the manufacturer signs with the certification body. I want to share with you the Kenyan experience in the next slide, Kenya experience on the benefits. Number one, there is equal opportunity for growth for both the small micro enterprises and large enterprises. If you look at the graph there, it shows trends for 4-year permits by CAPS from 2018 to the current year, 2022. The blue line, those are SMEs permits, and the orange one are the large manufacturing firms permits. And over a period of time, we have observed that given equal opportunities, small micro enterprises, which forms the engine, or rather which can open up economic development for the continent, they can grow in the same way as large manufacturing firms. So that is an observation we have made in our certification program, and we think that challenges SMEs faces, if they are addressed, they have a chance of being sustainable and also transitioning to become large firms. Then the other advantage is certification supports small micro enterprises product to access markets, and it mainstreams local product through assured quality. And we have seen some of the industries that are benefiting from this, like food value chains, like composite flour, banana clips, spices, etc., appliances and implements, and housing products. The other benefit is that it promotes sustainable use of local resources and also promotes creation of jobs. However, this certification is faced with the challenges, especially the certification of SMEs products. Number one, there is lack of standards. You realize that many of the products have not yet created enough demand to drive standardization. Then the other challenge is limited analytical capabilities that limits proper interrogation or testing of these products to certify them. Then the other challenge is technology. Lack of proper equipment and the technologies for efficient production are out of reach for some of these small micro enterprises. Now the question that we ask is, how can ARSO help in this situation? One way that we can benefit from ARSO is that we fast-track harmonization of standards to promote intra-African trade that in turn will scale up production. Because we have unique products in Africa, if we developed and harmonized standards for those unique products, then we can be able to scale them up. Number two, we harmonize and simplify certification requirements by removing requirements and procedures with no bearing on health, safety, and the trade facilitation. This will be very important because it will reduce the burden of certification. It will make it simple and faster and also not expensive. Number three, we promote mutual recognition within Africa by ensuring that conformity assessments systems are anchored on best practices and are being run by competent organizations, and they have competent staff, whereby once a product has been certified, it can be accepted everywhere. This will promote trade and wealth generation. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Murira, and quite interesting because one of the things that we actually trying to see is how we make the requirements for testing to be optimal in terms of looking at critical aspects of testing. Now, one of the things that maybe the questions that I've seen in the chat is whether you have a publicity campaign to ensure that people understand and appreciate the role of standards in trade facilitation. What do you have in that view? Dr. Murira.
Okay, thank you. I was saying I'm a mutant and I'm now a mutant. Yeah, publicity is very important. And actually, inculcating the standardization and the quality matters in the education, right from the primary education up to the university, is very important. At Kenya Bureau of Standards, we have started that effort, and we are having very many outreach programs to propagate the standards and ensure that there is understanding. The challenge of testing, of course, based on the expenses involved in acquiring testing facilities, can be addressed by ensuring that there is public-private partnership. So in Kenya, we have a number of accredited laboratories that we use to support our certification program. And we look at the competencies of these labs. We check on them by carrying out proficiency testing schemes with them, inter-laboratory comparisons, so that they can produce credible and reliable results. I think moving that way, promoting analytics for various products, harmonizing testing methods, sharing available resources between public and private institutions will be one way we can be able to test as many parameters as possible and be able to certify products. Ruben and members, that's my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question, and I think this is, of course, is not one of the questions that we had sent to you. The question that normally we get, and this is inquiries or people trying to understand, how easy is it to actually apply for the standardization marks? In your view, what have you done to make sure that it's an easy process and accessible to a wide range of stakeholders?
Thank you very much. There are many interventions that you put in place to make it easier. And I will start with the latest, whereby we are automating the process by implementing Kenyan Bureau of Standards Integrated Management System Quality Assurance Module. We have developed that system whereby manufacturer can apply and monitor the progress of the certification of his or her products. The system is in piloting phase, and we want to roll it out 100%. That's the latest intervention, and we have observed that it is going to increase efficiency in processing permits and also creating awareness, because anybody can check on the process from the website. Of course, we have the requirement in our website. Anybody can check and do application in the comfort of the factory without having to travel to Kenya Bureau of Standards and headquarters or offices. And until now, you've submitted all the required documents and the initial assessment has been carried, then site inspection and the sampling can take place. So those are the interventions we have put in place. And then also to monitor that the certification marks are not counterfeited by fraudsters. We run a database that is that you can query and you can search for a permit using an SMS code, or you can even check from the website. So any permit number that you have, if you send to a message to 20023, and the body of the message is SM hash, and then the permit number, it will return that message within a very short time, showing you the manufacturer, the product, the date of granting the permit, the expiry period, and the status of the permit. So those are some of the interventions we've put in place. And of course, we continue reviewing those procedures to make them simpler and user-friendly, so that we can have many products being brought to this compliance process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Murira. I believe we will come back to you towards the end of the webinar. There are quite a number of questions that I've seen from the chat. We will compile them. Those that you can answer immediately, you do. and those that you may answer offline, you can do, and then we can send to our stakeholders who are participating. Thank you very much for your good presentation and responses. Now, I will go to Konstantinos Dimitriatis, who is currently a legal officer working for the European Commission on issues of market surveillance, and is responsible for free movement of goods, mutual recognition of goods, and the CE marking. He has worked for more than 2 years in the EU institutions. He is an internal market lawyer, having worked in areas of free movement of people and free movement of services. I studied law in Greece, European law in Brussels, and the College of Europe in Bruges, Belgium, and insurance law and economics in Brussels. Konstantinos, we welcome you to our webinar for your presentation and enlightenment on how the European Union works with these trademarks. Thank you. Welcome. And then you can project for him, please.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm very glad to be with you and explain to you what is the CE marking. If we can see, I sent you my PowerPoint presentation. Yes, next, please. The next page, please. Yes. What is the CE marking? The CE marking is a marking with 2 letters, C and E, which does not mean China export. In China, they have also a CE marking, which means China export. But CE, it's just 2 letters chosen in 2008 for CE marking. The CE marking indicates the conformity of the product with the European Union harmonized legislation. It is a key indicator, but not a proof, that the product complies with European Union harmonized legislation and it is necessary, absolutely necessary, for some groups of products, not all products, but some groups of products which are described and regulated in EU harmonized legislation, and which legislation requires the affixing of the CE marking. The CE marking is absolutely necessary for products manufactured in the EU, which are marketed within the internal market of the European Union, but also for products manufactured in a third country, like China, Japan, Africa, or whatever, but which are exported to the EU and are marketed within the internal market of the EU. The CE marking, this is important, must be affixed only when the EU harmonized legislation requires its affixing. For example, CE marking is not necessary for food or for diamonds or whatever, but it's necessary for a list of products. And I give you the link where you can see this list of legislation, EU harmonized legislation, which requires CE affixing. Otherwise, the product cannot be marketed within the internal market of the EU. Which are the sectors? These are important industrial sectors. You understand? The C is, for example, for machinery, for construction products, for measuring instruments, for lifts, for hot water boilers, for explosives for civil use, even for toys for children, for medical devices, those who are used in the hospitals, for pyrotechnics, for pressure equipment, for radio equipment, for recreational craft, for simple pressure vessels. Only for these categories CE marking is required, and for products, independently if they're manufactured in third countries, in China or in Japan or whatever, but which are marketed within the internal market of the EU. Next slide, please. In the next slide, I give you, there is a general legislation for CE marking, and this is Regulation 765 of the year 2008 and the Decision 768 of the same year. But as I told you, there are specific regulations and directives which are EU harmonized legislation for some categories of products. And there you have, you can find the details of how the CE marking should be affixed on the product, because there is a whole procedure, which mainly, as you understand, as they are important industrial products, they require the certification from conformity assessment bodies. Sometimes also a declaration of conformity is required before the manufacturer is able to affix the CE marking. Who controls the correct application of the CE marking? It's the member states which ensure the correct implementation, and they can provide for penalties in case the CE marking is not affixed according to the rules. And the penalties could be also criminal sanctions for serious infringements. And when sanctions are adopted, are imposed to manufacturers or to their representatives within the EU, then there are platforms and there are networks which between the member states and the European Commission, so the information passes to all member states and the European Commission. Next slide, please. Who must affix the CE marking? The CE marking is affixed by the manufacturer. The manufacturer can be established within the EU or in a third country, in China, in Japan, in South Korea. If it's not affixed by the manufacturer, an authorized representative can do it, but the authorized representative should be established within the EU. Why? Because someone should be responsible. And if it's a representative, it should be established within the EU. The manufacturer can be China, but its authorized representative should be within the EU. What is the meaning of the CE marking? By affixing the CE marking, the manufacturer declares on his sole responsibility that the product conforms to all applicable union legislation requirements, and that the appropriate conformity assessment procedures have been successfully completed. Which are these procedures? You have to see the list of legislation I gave you at the beginning. For each category of products, there are conformity assessment procedures which should be followed. Maybe there is a declaration of conformity, and then there is the affixing of the CE marking. And of course, you know that in the EU, we have the so-called notified conformity assessment bodies. What is these notified conformity assessment bodies? They are certifiers established in the member states, which have the technical capacity, the independence to make the conformity assessment evaluation, and which are notified by the member states to the Commission. And there is a database which is called NANDO, N-A-N-D-O. And there you can find the list of all the conformity assessment bodies in the EU, which are accredited by an accreditation authority in the EU, and which can offer these conformity assessment evaluations. And of course, if you use them, the notified conformity assessment bodies, you understand that the certification is of much higher quality, because these certifiers have a high technical and scientific expertise, and they have also all the guarantees of independence. Next slide, please. Who must, affixing the CE marking, yes. CE marking should be affixed before any product is placed on the market. Not afterwards, but before. It may be that a product is subject to several union harmonization acts. I told you about the list of the acts. For example, in a lift, you can find there are so many components, and maybe for many of them, the CE marking is required. If the products are subject to several union harmonization acts, then the CE marking indicates that the products are declared to comply with the provision of all these acts. So in a product, you may have radio equipment, we have a hot water boiler or whatever, or construction products. So for each of them, for each product, there is a need for CE marking. And if you have the CE marking, that means that all these parts comply with the CE marking requirements. When a notified conformity assessment body, as I told you about the notified conformity assessment bodies that you can find in the NANDO database. If you click on the internet NANDO, you will have all the whole list of these bodies. When a notified conformity assessment body is involved in the production control, its identification number should follow the CE marking. Next, please. CE marking and other markings. The CE marking must be visible. Sometimes the product is very small or there is no place to put it. So as it should be visible, it should be on the package. And I can tell you that some packages also, some kind of packages require CE marking. The CE marking is the only marking conformity which indicates that the product complies with the union legislation requiring its affixing. There is no other. From the list of the legislation I gave you in the beginning. But there are other acts where there are provided for other markings. For example, on marine equipment, there is no CE marking, but there is the wheel mark. It's a wheel. You see it in on ships many times, a wheel. This is something similar to CE marking, but it's not CE marking. Also, for transportable pressure equipment, there is no CE marking, but there is a P capital, I, small I, marking. I have to tell you that now that Brexit was completed, the UK has now its own marking. But for the transitional period, the CE marking is still valid, but for the UK will accept its own marking, which is something similar to CE marking. Now I would like to come to your questions. I see that the first question is, what is the importance for the CE marking for the free movement of goods? It's very important, the CE marking. It's absolutely necessary for the free movement of goods within the internal market. For example, a product manufactured in Germany, which is exported to France, and the CE marking should be affixed. The same, a product manufactured in China, which is exported to the EU and will be marketed in the EU, needs also the CE marking. This makes free movement of trade, at least for the products I mentioned at the beginning, very useful, because you can understand there are trillions of products entering the EU market every day. Controls are not possible. That's why the affixing of CE marking is important, because there is an indication, let's say a presumption, that the product complies with the EU legislation. So, as there is impossibility to check, to make controls to all products, this CE marking, that's why we say it should be visible. You see it immediately, the consumer sees it, but also the market surveillance authority, the customs authority see it immediately. So it helps the imports from third countries, but also the free movement within the internal market. So for the African countries, it's also important if they wish to export products. You understand that all these products are industrial products. made normally by big industries, not by SMEs. But SMEs, you know that they participate in the production as subcontractors. So for them, it's also important. But as far as the products are exported to the EU, because the EU, it is in the internal market of the EU where CE marking is required. If the product is exported to the United States or to China, the CE marking means nothing because there is no legal provisions in these countries about CE marking. They have maybe their own CE marks, something similar, but for them it's not important. But of course, as you understand that they are industrial products which are very complicated, they require high expertise, high technological level, etc. You understand that there is a need also for certification from important conformity assessment bodies. There is a question if for fake products, if the CE marking has a role. No, because maybe on fake products you certainly find the CE marking, and as I told you, the CE marking is an indicator, not a proof that the product complies with the EU. If it's a fake product, the product may be marketed within the internal market, but at some time someone will complain that the product is fake, or that the product is not safe, or that the product is dangerous. So there is a system of alert between member states and the Commission, and the product will be blocked. And of course, there will be sanctions. The product will be seized and destroyed if it's a fake product because of the violation of the intellectual property rights.
Okay.
So it's very important to summarize. I think is very important for the internal market and for the export of manufactured products from third countries to the EU internal market. But for the rest, it's not for other countries, or for trade between other member states, between other countries, third countries, not in member states. It's not really important because in these countries there's no legislation on CE marking.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Unless and you have really addressed the questions that we had even sent to you. A very interesting scenario that basically we are seeing that the mark is a kind of self-declaration that you've complied with the necessary legislation. Those are the technical technical directives that may apply to a particular product group. And in your presentation, you did indicate that there are penalties that would apply in case there's violation, or the product is, you've declared that you met the standards, or the legislation, but you find that the product is failing. Now, I do believe that perhaps one of the aspects that the continent needs to prepare itself to face is the idea that when you have a lot of goods crossing the borders, and when you are really encouraging free movement of goods, then it is important that the certification is done and is clear enough so that you do not have to stop the products for inspection at every point of entry, and therefore they can move freely. Now, what normally would be the kind of penalty that a firm or an organization can face in case the product is declared that it has met the standards or they have met the technical directives, but they actually fail and cause harm? What would be the kind of penalties that you can envision?
As I told you, the penalties are defined by the member states. So it depends on the member state. It's not, there is no European legislation on the sanction. The European legislation simply says that member states can adopt sanctions, which could be fines or blocking of the products or whatever. Even criminal sanctions, if it's something, as you say, something serious infringements, as for example, the product is a fake product. And the kind of measures we have in different member states is that the products are seized. Maybe if it's fake, they may be seized by the customs and destroyed. If they are not fake, but the CE marking is not usually correctly used, then the customs can say, I know that in some member states, like in Germany, for example, they can tell the importer, you can take them back. They cannot enter the European Union market and you have to take them back. If it's fake, it's seized and destroyed. If it's not fake, but the use of CE marking is not correct, they can tell you, member states, it depends on the member state, take them back where they came from. It depends. Every member state has its own sanctions and its own administrative practices.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. And I think those are the interesting perspectives that we have to keep in mind as we move along with the presentations. And we shall be coming back to you. I know there are quite a number of questions which have been posted. Some, if we are able to read them out for you to answer, if we have enough time, we can. Some we will send to you for response later on.
Yes, you have my email. You have my email also, and you can send me an email with your questions, no problem.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much.
At your disposal anytime, yes.
Thank you very much. Very enlightening, and I hope we are seeing, when we say free movement, it is not take your things and walk across the borders. You have to meet the requirements of the specific requirements for the product. Thank you very much. We shall be coming back to you before the end of the event. Now I go to the next presenter, Mr. Gashai, Charles Gashai, will be presenting to us on the benefits of application of the ARSO quality mark in the African single market under the AfCFTA agreement. Mr. Gashai has worked extensively in the industry. Those who remember him, he had worked in the Kenya Bureau of Standards, where he has handled issues of standards testing and also other conformity assessment perspectives. Currently, he's coordinating the conformity assessment program at ARSO, and also is in charge of the EcoMark Africa certification scheme. Mr. Gashai, welcome to present on your topic, please.
Thank you, Ruben, and good day to us all. Let me share my presentation. So first of all, to appreciate even the previous presenters, and also to remind ourselves that as a continent, we are endowed with very many resources, from water, land, forests, and this can only be commercialized through standards.
Can you put your presentation, put it in presentation mode. Presentation mode so that it can be big enough.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yes, so for us to make use of these resources, then we need standards, first of all, as a basis, and then the issue of certification, so that we can be able to commercialize them and also add value, so that we can be able to create wealth within the continent and also employment. By the end of my presentation, I hope I will be able to answer what is a quality mark, where is it applied, what are the requirements for the application, and then also what are the benefits. To start with, and this has also come up in a previous presentation, the mark is evidence that a product complies or conforms to applicable safety, quality, and performance standards. In other words, there is a standard that you are going to be checked for compliance. The mark is usually a logo, an image, or a label that is applied on a product, on a description of a service. When we talk of service, we know that we have two kinds of industries here. Basically, we have also the service and also the manufacturing sectors, and both of them have got standards and can be checked for compliance. A very important sector in the service industry, for instance, as far as we are concerned, is the tourism sector, where you have a lot of services to support that sector. So what I'm saying is that the ARSO quality mark, therefore, will be used to demonstrate compliance to African harmonized standards. So we have different standards at different levels. We have at national level, at continental level, and at international level. So it depends on which standards you are using. In an earlier presentation from Kenya Bureau of Standards, you were taken through compliance to national standards. So like it has been observed, in terms of trading, you need different standards so that you can be able to access markets. And also markets, we have them at different levels. We have at local level, regional level, and the international level. So for the ARSO mark, specifically, we are looking at compliance with the harmonized standards and for trading within the AfCFTA. I've given some examples of without any criteria. I've just given some examples of some quality marks. The first one is the EcoMark Africa, which is a continental mark for goods and services that comply to established harmonized standards on sustainability. We normally call it an eco-label. The other one is an ARSO mark. This is the development is not operational, but very soon it's to start operating, especially now that we are implementing the AfCFTA, and AfCFTA have recognized African standards as the basis for conformity assessment within the continent. There is the standardization mark there from Kenya. This one's some Dr. Molira talked about it. This is the mark that you require to have to access local markets for compliance with the Kenya national standards or Kenya standards. If we close the continent, that is the famous Kite Mark. It is normally a mark that is normally affixed to products complying with the British standards. So if you see this mark, then it means that that product complies to British standards. The KEBS standardization mark for standards complying to Kenya standards. The EMA or EcoMark Africa for products complying with African sustainability standards. I'll come back a little bit later on the EcoMark. So those are just some of the African standards that we do have. ARSO, as you may already know, is charged with the mandate for harmonization of standards and the conformity assessment system. For these standards to be harmonized, we have technical committees that are constituted by experts from member states. These are the ones who sit down and agree on the requirements of the harmonized African standards. And we have over 13,000 African standards, but these are not enough for purposes of movement of goods and services that we do have in Africa. I've given another set of standards and I've colored them green. These are what we call sustainability standards. And currently we have 7 of them. These are standards which have been harmonized with the same process by experts from the ARSO member states. But these standards do integrate the various measures for sustainability in them. We have 3 or 4 measures that have to be integrated for you for it to qualify to be called sustainability standards. These are measures to do with the environment, measures which are economic, measures which are social, and then there are some other dimensions like, of course, issues to do with governance of organizations. It's also included. Basically, we normally talk of environment, social, and then economic. Those are the 3 metrics of sustainability. So companies that comply with these standards are the ones that we award the EcoMark Africa label. And currently, we have 10 companies across Africa that have been awarded the EcoMark. Now, the EcoMark scheme is a scheme that we describe as growth-oriented. In other words, it helps industries mature at a maturity model from a low performance level to a higher performance level. We have 4 performance levels under this scheme. The lowest being bronze. You climb across across the ladder to silver, then gold and platinum. and platinum. Why we say it's a maturity model is that for bronze and silver, you are not supposed to stay more than 2 years at that grade or level. So you are supposed to continuously comply with the requirements of the established standard so that you go towards gold and platinum. Now, these levels are designed such that whereas one looks superior than the other, all of them, you have to meet the basic requirements. Those are the critical requirements in a standard. But as you climb up, then there are more requirements that you have to comply with than at a lower level. So you find that our SMEs will normally follow at bronze and silver, but we have seen others which have also grown. So these currently are the 7 standards that we have. The last one, which is on cocoa, we have not been able to award so far, but we are hoping that we are going to get somebody's certified and awarded the Eco Mark Africa label in due course. That's just a pictorial demonstration, or to show the various standards that we do have. More about Eco Mark. This is actually a continental, it's actually the first continental certification mark, which is awarded to goods and services that demonstrate environmental, economic, and social sustainability within the legal framework of the country of production. Like I earlier said, we have 2 performance levels, that is bronze, silver, and gold. It was first launched in 2019, and we had 7 companies at that time, but now we have got 10. These are the ones that comply to the agriculture standard. The first one, here we have got, at the number 1, we have got coffee. All of them are on coffee. Then number 2, this should be reading fishery. Sorry, I'm going to change that. This ARS2 is on a capture fishery, that is from the sea before processing. Then we have a company which has been awarded an Eco Mark based on a forestry standard. This one is in Zimbabwe. The first companies are in Kenya. We have a hotel in Rwanda that has been awarded Eco Mark for tourism. And we have one company in Kenya, a company in Kenya, we have a company that has been, the bottom number 6 is on tilapia. So we have one in Kenya, another one in Nigeria, and another one in Uganda. So how do you how do you get an Eco Mark? I think that's one of the questions that has been on the chart. First of all, you have to make sure that you are a legal entity. You cannot be awarded or apply for an Eco Mark if you are not legally registered. And also there are some other requirements in the standard that ensures that you comply with statutory requirements within that country. You have to be the owner of the products that you are applying for or the service. That's another condition. When you satisfy that, then what you do is you now select a licensed certification body. This is a body that has been accredited by an accreditation body to ensure that you have the competence and capability to undertake audits for the award of EcoMark Africa. So this is a whole range of certification bodies, but to date, we have only licensed 2 companies. That is the KEBS-CB and the Standards Association of Zimbabwe certification bodies. But others are coming on board because of the scope of the work that is there and that has been envisioned. Once you select a certification body among those, then you sign a contract. You sign a contract with the certification body. And then, of course, you provide the documentation that is required. That is for what we call the initial audit. And then this will be followed by some site visit audits or site visits. More often than not, after the audit, there will be some non-conformances that will be identified. So you have to respond to those non-conformances within the required time. Normally, it's given about 90 days. And then once you satisfy the certification body and through their certification committee, then they will recommend for your award for EcoMark.
Yeah, so if you're able to finish so that we can then start addressing the questions.
Okay, then I was trying to look at the issue of a single market, and here we are talking about AfCFTA for our case. So we are saying this is a type of trading bloc in which barriers have been removed. There are many barriers here, but here we are looking at technical barriers that will include standards, regulation, like that. And it's intended to promote free movement of goods, services, capital, labor among member states. So this is the objective, but again, like it has been observed earlier on, it is not just a question of taking your goods and moving towards where you want to sell them. There will be conditions that will be required. The AfCFTA, which came into force on 30th May 2019, is now the Continental Free Trade Area for Africa. And this is the one that we are talking about for movement of goods for the purpose of our deliberations today. So under this AfCFTA and then under the SPS and TBT protocols of the AfCFTA, it has recognized that only African standards that will be used as a basis for conformity assessment within the continent and for purposes of market access within the member states. So it's very important that member states, when they harmonize the standards, that they adopt them as their own so that they can be able to implement them and use them for purposes of accessing the continental free trade area market. I've talked about the ARSO mark, quality mark. Like we have said, only the EcoMark is operational for the time being, but the other one is under development. We are also looking at a situation where we will have once a member state has been able to harmonize an African standard, based on their own certification system and compliance with that particular national standards, harmonized African standard. Then they can also award their mark alongside the ARSO mark. I've talked about the requirements for the award of the eco mark. And the eco mark is normally valid for 3 years, but you do annual maintenance or surveillance so that you ensure compliance with the sustainability standard. The benefits, first of all, is accessing markets within the AfCFTA based on the ARSO mark and then compliance with the African standard. When you are talking of using the same standard and the recognition of the same mark across the member states, then there is reduction in clearance across the borders. Once you show the mark and the documentation, then you should be able to move freely. The mark will also reduce multiple testing because of the mutual recognition or recognition of the mark. Once a product has that mark, then you don't have to have testing, unless maybe it's through market surveillance in another member state. The mark will increase confidence that your products and services comply to an existing African standards that ensures health and safety of the citizen. And also you can use it as to promote your products across the continent. Therefore, this mark, the application of this mark can be strategic for an organization and can be used as a marketing tool. I want to submit for the time being, and if there are any questions, then maybe I can be able to address them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Yashai. And I think you, in the presentation, you managed to even address some of the questions that are arising. We do have questions in the chat, but I think those are questions that we are going to synthesize, and then we come back to you so that you are able to answer. Those that I know I can address directly, for example, the level of adoption of African standards, that's from the EABC. That level, we are currently carrying out a study to understand the level of adoption of the African standards, and if there are challenges, how we shall address them. So we shall be able to give you figures later on, because we launched the study and it is almost being concluded on that level of adoption. The other one, that question is, what happens to national certification systems? Actually, if you heard the presentation from the European Union, is that the certification takes place at the national level, and therefore it is important that you're able to strengthen the national certification systems so that they can take on board African standards for purposes of certifying their products in line with the requirements of those African standards. And if you also listen, you do understand that the certification is not carried out by ARSO Secretariat, but rather by bodies within the member states. And we would like to see that there's capacity in each member state to actually do the certification at the national level so that you reduce the costs associated with certification. So if that is done, and then it's important that we do it, and that's the capacity building that we are engaged in at the moment to ensure that each country can actually do that certification. Now, in support of that, what we are also doing is to ensure that there's mutual recognition, that then once the certification is done, there's mutual recognition that the products can now freely move across the borders. So those are some of the developments that are going on. I would like to come to one of the companies that have been certified to the EcoMark certification, and this is the private sector. One of those that were certified at the very beginning when we started the program. So Samuel Kwaku is based in Ghana. He has operations there, and he will give us that presentation. Now, Samuel Nikwaku is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Kwaku Initiatives, and also EcoMark certified farm, which is an exporter of organic fruits, fresh fruits, dried citrus peels, dried ginger, cola, cocoa nibs, hibiscus, and fresh pressed juices. So he's a member of the National Technical Committee of Agriculture of the Ghana Standards Authority, and a member of the ARSO Technical Committee that deals with fruits and vegetables. That's horticulture, where we have harmonized a number of standards. With the local safety and quality certification program, Mr. Kwaku is also the board chair of Green Label Ghana Foundation. So he's also a managing director, Queen Organics, organic fresh fruits, vegetables, herbs, teas, juices, dried orange and lemon peels, and founder of the Bio Ghana Network. So he also has qualifications in post-harvest management, food safety systems development, standards development, international trade development, and agriculture area development and planning. We welcome you. I understand you may not be having a presentation, but you wish to give us a talk on the issue of the certification. Kindly take over and do your presentation.
Thank you very much, Ruben. I thank the entirety of the ARSO Secretariat for the enormous work that it has been doing over the years and for making things get to where they have gotten at this moment. Indeed, it has been a long journey for Africa, trying to harmonize its borders and promote trade within Africa itself and between Africa and the rest of the world. Kwaku Initiatives is already an exporter, and we have been processing. We are a very 100% organic establishment. We work with farmer groups who produce fruits for us to add value to before we export. And we are certified to third-party certifications like the EU Organic Certificate and the US Organic Certificate. So we understand very much what third-party certification does. And I dare say this, that it is primarily a market access tool for the sector within which we operate as organic. Without a certificate, you don't even talk price, you don't talk product. So it is the certificate that you have that makes another buyer who requires an organic produce then begin the conversation with you as to what you need to sell. And that is what defines the market to which you can sell. Again, there are various markets within the markets we export to, principally EU and then the US. In the EU market, you're either selling to people, importers who are further processing, or you're selling to the supermarkets, or importers are buying and they are then on supplying to retail outlets, that supermarkets. For supermarkets, they are requiring even more certifications as to social certification, as to whether or not you are respecting the environment. Some have their own company certifications they want you to sign on to. So they give you a standard that probably talks about you complying with a specific thing that is what is their market tool for which they sell, like Rainforest Alliance. So they say, well, you are producing within an environment where you take care of the forest and you do ABC to make sure the forests are not harmed. And for that reason, you are certified to it. And that is how they sell their product. So all about certification, all about standards, is all about distinguishing the products we are selling and how you produce them, and distinguishing ourselves in the marketplace. And it's the marketplace that determines what should be done. And this is basically what we have learned over the years. So with EcoMark certificate, we are certified to the Eco Sustainability Agriculture Standards of ARSO. And we have realized that it helps us already to show out to our buyers that yes, we're already respecting social, we have a social responsibility in our production systems. Again, that what we do also ensures that the environment is entirely, respectable. We are responsible in our activities. We don't just dump things in the environment. We put in systems to ensure that we make the environment a better place by the time we finish our production. And yes, that we are economically viable, and then we do ethical production. You see, so it communicates with the people, because we just say, well, it's eco certified, and this is what it stands for. And that is how we have made it possible for others to understand what we're doing here in Africa. But I move it to the next level to say that now it is expedient on African countries to start asking that if I want to buy this from your country, I want it certified as eco. And I think this is what is being we have been championing. African countries, companies in African countries have not as yet started requiring that other people supplying things to them, whatever else certified, should be certified as eco. Until we request it that I need it eco certified, other companies will not be willing to go through the certification process so that they market with it, because then it has not as yet become a marketing requirement within the African continent. I think that is where I want us to put more emphasis, that consumers, that companies who are buying, that want to ensure that they are only buying things that are produced in Africa, should begin to require the African certificate, the Eco Mark certificate on their products, and that will help us move forward. I dare say that even though people say it's difficult to get through the certification process, it's fairly laid out. Some may require the service of a technical person, consultant, for example, in implementing the standards, but then it is fairly laid out, and anyone who has knowledge in these systems can actually implement them, and then you can go through the certification process. But otherwise, the technical person could be hired on and assist the applicants to go through the process of the standard, and therefore make sure that they get certified. Hello?
Yes. Kindly proceed.
Okay, great. So I have this to say, that the EcoMark program, the EcoMark certification, has great prospects for all companies, and indeed for the continent. However, it is important that now African countries make it mandatory, make it a requirement for dealing with each other based on this, the requirements of the certificate, and thereby it will assist and make many more people begin to implement and accept the certificate, and then we'll go beyond the numbers we have now to enhance better trade amongst ourselves. I think this is what I think we should be learning about. Thank you very much, Mr. Gzal.
Thank you very much, Samuel. And this is a testimony from one of the companies that has already been certified at the EcoMark Africa. And from the discussion, of course, you get the point that there are benefits that they have seen. And there is a communication, the mark that gives you that indeed what we put in place is to ensure that it's not just about making money, but also ensuring that you make it in a sustainable way. You also make sure that the environment is taken care of in a way that will support continuous production. At the same time, ensuring that the people serving in the farm are treated well, and therefore they are not exploited in ways that, yes, the entrepreneur makes money, but creates hardships for the community or for the workers. So quite a number of communication points or signals that the mark gives. And that's what gives it a cutting edge over most of the other marks, although since we released our mark, of course, some of the earlier marks have also tried to embrace the aspects that we had put in place. But we did that with experience based on what we observed, that sometimes some marks are put on products, but the actual conditions on the ground are not what they are communicating. Thank you very much, Samuel, but there are a few questions that would like you to probably give us. In your experience, what are the challenges that you see for small companies? What are the challenges they face in getting these marks?
Thank you very much, Ruben. In my experience, I realized that many small companies don't have the internal technical knowledge in implementing standards. And that's the key thing. Standards are technical. Way around it is always to have a technical person to break it down to operational level. And I think that is the only aspect that ARSO did the guides, interpreted guide, guidelines for implementing the standards, where you have a technical standards actually turn into a pictorial standard and provide details as to what you need to do to achieve what is expected in the standard. And those ones are good. And that helps a lot of, will help a lot of SMEs to be able to implement the standard. I think that is the key thing. The other one sometimes for people is the cost of implementation. Maybe high, that could be waived. Then for you to be able to be successful, you may need to implement certain things like if it has to do with personal hygiene, you may have to put in place systems. So that may cause, may require the implementing organization to buy things that will help you to implement personal hygiene or of workplace hygiene. And so those are the cost of implementing things that are required so that you can achieve the expected result, and that no one can do. So then if the company doesn't have funds to fund that, then it becomes a bit more difficult for them to sign on. But I think, having said that, for you to produce things that are safe and wholesome for human consumption, those are real things that must be put in place. And so we cannot but wait for them to be able to do that before we can say, yes, the qualified things are good. And then it also gives the customers the assurance that these things are quality products that have, a third party ensuring that these requirements are met. And so then it then will enhance and facilitate business. I think these are very good things that we are already implementing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We shall be coming back to you, and also to assure our participants that some of those pictorial standards, we are actually continuing with them. We are making calls to make quite a big number of them in the next few months. So if you haven't seen some of those standards, you can ask your national standards bodies to try and get them to you. You can also make a request so that we are able to see if we can forward to you at least one or two in your sector that would assist in easy implementation of the standards. We take cognizance that there are challenges the SMEs face, but at the same time, that's why we are emphasizing on building capacity in the member states so that you are able to get the services of your national certification bodies, or whether private or our public bodies, which are close to you, so that you cut out the costs of certification. So the certification bodies and auditors who will be trained under some of the programs we have rolled out should be close to you to enable you get the right information, interpretation of the standards, and also so that you're able to implement them. But similarly, we are going to be having platforms that you can access and do self-assessment so that you are able to determine if it is possible for you to get the certification done. Now, I'm going to call on our last presenter today, And this is also a reflection of our membership from Egypt. It's going to be a national experience where the Egyptian experience with national quality marks and the benefits of application of a continental mark in the context of accessing markets. Engineer Mohammed Hasham Khattab is currently the Quality Assurance Manager at the General Department for Quality, Egyptian Organization for Quality and Standards. He's a member of the Egyptian Syndicate for Engineers. He has worked for 30 years in the field of conformity assessment and certification of products in the Egyptian Organization for Standards and Quality. In his experience, he worked as head of quality electrical products in the engineering department of years and 5 years as quality expert in quality mark for products in the Saudi Arabia Standards Organization of the Saudi Arabia. He has attended successfully all programs of European Egyptian cooperation in the field of conformity by ISO standards for 3 years, 2015 to 2018. I graduated from the Faculty of Engineering of Ain Shams University in Cairo. Engineer Khattab, we welcome you to share your experience in the field of conformity assessment. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Robin. Greetings from Cairo, Egypt, for everybody. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, please. But you can try to be more audible.
Yeah. The PowerPoint, please. Slide.
Project.
The first slide. Okay. Is the PowerPoint available?
They will put it up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is the definition of our PowerPoint today. I'm very happy to be here, and I listened to very, very, very useful and good words from our colleagues about facilitating African trade across borders of our African. You know, Robin, we are proud to be African and Arab in the same time. We say that here in Egypt, for example, we are Arab and African and global citizens. All of us are global citizens. Next slide, please. Egyptian organization, let me introduce our activities as African. Egyptian Organization for Standardization and Quality. It is our organization, is called EOS, Egyptian Organization for Standardization, is considered the competent authority in our country, Arab Republic of Egypt. This organization, our organization EOS, gives a license and the granting of the quality mark for products. And it is an official or governmental organization here in Egypt to give the national quality mark, the Egyptian national quality mark, and also national conformity certificates for industrial products in accordance with the Egyptian or the foreign standards This is make it easy for companies to get our national quality mark, because we here in Egypt accept some foreign standards like ISO, IES, German, Japanese, French, like this. Our department, which is responsible for granting national quality mark, is considered also as consulting house, because we have expertise. We have here in EOS a big training center to give the essential training. There is essential training for people who working in CBs certification. There are many standards. International standards is important for anybody to who wants to act in certification bodies like ISO 9001, ISO 19011, ISO 17.65, 17.6, 17.67, 17.25, and like this. All these are very important international standards for certification activities for products and services. Next slide, please. Anybody who has experience in any certification body for products, who gives who works for quality marks, any quality mark nationally in the countries, has advantages. What are the advantages of quality mark? Here I'll talk about our Egyptian quality mark. All of us has a dream, or have a dream. All of us we have a dream to get African quality mark, as I will tell you in the next slide. Let me. I think that the advantages of getting a quality mark or getting certificate. Yani the world, we studied many years ago a good sentence applied internationally, saying that be certified as persons, individuals, be certified as a factory, as a company. Certificates are very important for guiding consumer towards goods that conforms to standards. Yani, quality mark is very important to tell the consumer that the product you buy from the market has conformity to standards, to national standards, to international standards, for safety, for example, for safety, for health, for environment, okay, etc. The quality marks gives the product the satisfaction and the trust of the consumer. Yani, these are what we are saying now are fundamentals for advantages for any quality mark, national or regionally, or international. And this is what we're talking about today, about one African quality mark. Okay, let us complete. Quality marks contribute to increasing sales. Yani the company getting quality mark are targeting increasing sales. Number 4, building appropriate commercial foundations to facilitate conclusion to export agreements for now between us in some African countries or Arab countries. Some countries ask for conformity certificate, even it is a quality mark, a national quality mark. Okay. Continuous development and improvement of the product, because products having certificates of quality mark or carrying quality mark nationally, regionally, internationally. This is this makes the product under monitoring, and this is lead to development and improvement of the product itself, because conformity to standards give us confidence and trust that this product will follow the conditions or the requirements of a well-known and respected standards of any kind, nationally, regionally, and internationally. Okay, also a quality mark in any country, qualifying establishments to obtain local and international quality awards. Also, when a company or factory getting a quality mark for its products, for their products, this means that in this company or factory or organization or establishment are ready to go forward for getting quality awards from any place. Also, 7 here, quality marks in any country enhancing the reputation and the fame of establishments locally, regionally, and internationally. Because carrying a quality mark, when I see a product calling a quality mark, of course, a well-known quality mark, this gives enhancing the reputation and increasing also the sales. Okay. 8, quality mark, respected quality mark, nationally, regionally, internationally, help the flow of entry of goods bearing the mark through customs, because ports, okay? It makes it easy to cross the borders easily between countries. Ease in exporting the products with the mark abroad. Okay, يعني helps, quality mark helps the factories or companies to export their products to other countries, because applying the requirements of any quality mark give confidence, give trust for consumers that in this product tested coming from a company or factory that is following or applying or implementing the requirements of standards, of well-known standards, and give safety. Okay. Advantages also of quality mark, of any quality mark: supporting the national economy, and this is what we need in Africa, because in Africa we are in African countries and need growth, need development. Okay. According to the 17 goals of United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals. I hope that in any African brother or expert or must revise always the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, because we here in Africa need them more than any other parts of the world. We need zero poverty, zero hunger, zero unemployment. Okay. Quality mark for products here, supporting national economy and raising the competitiveness of like here in Egypt, according to our Egyptian national quality mark in Egyptian markets, our supporting the national economy and raising the competitiveness of Egyptian products. Okay. Next slide, please. Here, according to our webinar today, we were asked to say something about Continental mark, quality mark across all African countries, as we said. But what we need here, what is what are the points of views to support? We say that here, please, to support and encourage the increase of benefits of the objectives of the African continental free trade area agreement. It is necessary to think of mechanisms and means that increase the volume of intra-African trade. And this is what we hope and what is our dream today, to make an intra-African trade at the highest level as much as we can. We are African. All of us as African, we need the growth of our economies. Okay. Intra-African trade and achieve the dream of, we have here, I myself and many of my friends which are experts in standardization and the quality and the conformity assessment. And I said to my to the European experts, I attended here in 3 years in Egypt, what is called the twinning program with the European Union, and I saw many of European experts that came to us here in Egypt in 2015 to 2018. They gave us many lectures and training about ISO 17.65 and with 1765 with 17020 with 17025, and I said to them, and that is our big goal. One African, and we reach one African standard, one test report. This is a test report, one certificate of conformity of one quality mark accepted everywhere in Africa. And I am very happy today to listen about an African mark. Well, our colleagues here today talk about African quality mark, and this is very good. But there is a lack of information, shortage of information. We have to spread the culture of African quality mark through ARSO, through all the African organization, African Union, the organizations of African Union, ARSO already the African organization. We respect it and we love it. Okay, we have to reach the one African standard by any way, one African standard. I heard and we heard all about the harmonization of standards, and harmonization and certification requirements. Harmonization of African standard. We have to get the goal of one African standard by any way. One African standard, we will not create standards. There are international standards. We can adopt them, we can use them, and we can use them, adopt them to reach the goal of one African standards. One test report one certificate, one conformity certificate, one quality mark accepted everywhere. Okay. For products and services, in the coming years, we have to also work on this goal and on this dream, African dream. Okay. Some countries, as you know, may lack capabilities of any kind of conformity assessment activities. We know that there are African countries have shortage of accredited laboratories, have shortage of certification bodies themselves and accreditation bodies, okay? Or local private certificates, okay.
Yeah, kindly finish in the next 3 minutes.
What?
If you
Yeah,
can wind up in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay, خلاص.
Yes,
there is a principle called the win-win situation, as we know, and African countries can make can use this principle with international communities, international organizations. They can help us as win-win. We can use. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is there is an important thing I want to tell you, that we have well designed and well planned mutual recognition and mutual recognition agreements between our countries under the help of ARSO or anything. This will make our countries, African countries, come together, come closer, okay, by mutual recognition, because this will simplify many things. Instead of repeating some activities in each country, we can make a mutual recognition for this. Yeah, all I wanted to say, we have to deal with African problems, poverty, unemployment, TBT, barriers to trade between African countries. We have to remove them, because we want also we want to measure the effectiveness of many agreements, African agreements. We have to revise them, re-evaluate them to get the benefits as soon as possible, as much as possible from the agreements that some Africans I see don't know much about ECOWAS, about COMESA. Businessmen know that, but we want to come together. There is COMESA, there is ECOWAS, SADC, AfCFTA. We want to make it. We hope that in all of them will come to one agreement. I know that in an AfCFTA wants to make Africans come together. We wanted to make one organization like the European Union, and more that I said that more than European Union. Why? Because we are Africans. We have to come together, come closer, more cooperation, with more cooperation. Because we have capabilities, we have African wealth, but we cannot use them. We can use them in time less than the European Union, as you know that some countries can simplify the time and reduce the time to get the wealth as much as we can. And thank you very much. And any questions, I'm ready to it.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Khattab, and you are sharing of your experiences and also your visions for the continent and your call for us to work towards, being closer and ensuring that we can do trade among our countries. We have listened to your presentation and experiences, and maybe just one question. In Egypt, how do you ensure or enforce the application of quote marks in products traded within the country? And is it, do you have a mandatory mark?
Thank you, Robin. Egyptian quality mark, national quality mark, is not mandatory here in Egypt. It is optional for the companies. But as you saw in the benefits of quality mark, these are the advantages that encourage companies or factories to get the national quality mark to prove their reputation and to increase their sales, but not mandatory. Egyptian quality mark, national, not mandatory.
Yeah, thank you very much. So there is the publicity. You've created the publicity for the companies to understand that there are benefits.
Yeah, the Egyptian quality mark, as you know, through EOS. EOS is one organization for the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and they any big country, even small now, works to get the quality mark because it helps in promoting their sales in the markets. Okay, they need it, but not mandatory up till now.
No, that's very interesting, and I think it's a way of learning that by making it well known, the companies can actually come for the mark on their own, so they will come and ask for certification or to be assessed for certification. It's a very important point. So, colleagues, we have overshot our time, but I think there are quite a few questions that we are going to ask. And I'll begin with you, Khattab, because you are still on the floor. What is your recommendation on the way forward? How do you think we should be moving forward in terms of promoting certification to enhance trade? You are just 1 minute recommendation.
Okay, it is my opportunity to say that for our country, for my country, Egypt, and for Africa. Okay, yes. We have to harmonize our standards and simplify them. As we have to reduce the time. We are not having to make new standards. The international standards are found. We can get it, simplify them, harmonize them with Africa. Harmonization of standards to get the African quality continental mark, African mark. Number two, there is a problem now, a very big problem for certification bodies. What is it? It is the accredited laboratories. We have to make something to increase the subject of accredited laboratories according to ISO 17.25. Some countries now, and Egypt one of them, find obstacles. There are accredited laboratories in for some products. The manufacturers and the producers send their products to Europe to test them, and I am quite sure that there are African countries we don't have accredited labs. So ARSO or any European Union can make a center of accredited lab Africans according to qualified with all the equipments like weapons. As we buy weapons for armies, we can weapons all the needed equipments to make African centers for accredited labs to help manufacturers to test their products. Some inventors now use young men or women invent something and he wants a certificate to get it. He has to test it in labs. He finds some of them that does not don't find the labs, don't find the standards. Okay, that's all. And accredited labs and the standards.
Thank you very much. We can accelerate. In fact, what you're saying is accelerate the harmonization of the standards by using international standards which are available and simplifying them. Number two, expand the laboratories and scope of testing and having more laboratories established.
Accredited.
Thank you. Accredited laboratories. Yeah, thank you very much. Hattab, I'm coming back. I don't know whether Geoffrey, you are back, so that you can give us your last word. Geoffrey. Perhaps not. Konstantinos, are you with us? Your last word.
Yes, I'm with you. I'm hearing very interesting what you say. Although I have to say as last word is that CE marking is not a quality marking. It does not guarantee that the product is of good quality or of X quality. It's a conformity mark. It shows only, and it's an indicator, not a proof, that the product, an industrial product, not a food product or whatever, an industrial product conforms with the EU harmonized legislation. And it's absolutely necessary when it is provided by the EU legislation for marketing in the EU, whatever is the country of manufacturing, even it's a Chinese product which is exported to the EU. Of course, in the EU, there are quality marks. There are quality marks for food. You know, you see now we have a lot of food products in the EU with the bio sign, the marking, or eco design, or that the many labels showing that the product is sustainable, it's good for the environment. There are also private labels about the nutritional value of the product, A, B, C, D, you see now in all supermarkets. But this is something totally different from the CE marking, which is for industrial products and products manufactured by big industry. But of course, also in the EU, we have quality markets, quality markings, although, and labels, but I'm not the appropriate person to speak about this. You should consult other colleagues which have the expertise and the competence to reply. In DG Agri, in DG Environment, also. What I would like to say is that your initiative is very good, and that you can be inspired by by what is happening in the EU internal market. And it would be good because your product also, if you follow the same rules, the same standards, it would be much easier for exporting to the EU. This is all what I would like to say to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Actually, one of the questions was how long was the journey towards having, for example, one mark in the CE mark, for example? How long was that journey for the EU?
I don't understand. How long?
How long did it take for you to establish the CE mark, for example, for you to realize that there was that need?
The CE marking was created, let's say, in 2008,
Okay.
but of course it was. What do you mean? What is the?
When did the process start to realizing that there was that need to have the mark?
There was no need to.
When did the process start towards having the mark by 2008? In other words, we know there was the new approach that started way
Yes.
back in 1985.
Yes.
But for the mark to be established, when did you realize as EU that it was necessary?
I cannot say. I would say yes. The beginning was in '95, yes, with a new approach. But it was this all happened in 2008.
Okay.
Because you understand that controls of compliance of the product are not possible. We need millions of customs officer or market surveillance officers to check the products. According to what is happening in Europe and I think in the world, only 1 to 3% maximum of products are checked and controlled. It's not possible to control so many products. And CE marking is this, helps to this, because there is a process of certification and we trust this certification, in particular if it's from notified conformity assessment bodies. We trust the manufacturer or the representative of the manufacturer, and we accept the products. Of course, this doesn't, as I told you, it's not a quality mark. It can be proved that the product is dangerous for health or for the environment or whatever, and it can be blocked, although it is CE marking. But the CE marking is the, let's say, the mark which is the passport for free movement of goods. But it's not a proof of quality. It can be proved later, and with the use, of course it will be proved. You can put the CE marking, but if it's not correct, after some time it will be discovered that the product does not comply, or it's dangerous or whatever. So you could not escape from the market. The market is there and will judge the product. And the products which are not of quality or which are not safe will be kicked out of the market.
Thank you very much. And I think we need to look at that perspective very clearly, that, you cannot inspect or test everything, across the borders. So quite a small percentage, around 3 to 5%, which is probably something we need to think about, so that when we have the mark, the aim is to reduce the amount of time it takes to actually release the products at the borders. I come to you, Mr. Gashai, for the final words.
Thank you, Ruben. Listening to the discussion today, I think there is value in pulling resources together so that we can be able to come up with a harmonized standards and also a harmonized certification system. That is the certification procedures, so that other resources that would be used for duplicated efforts can be used to address other challenging issues within the continent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Samuel, if you are still with us, your final words. Well, I don't see someone. We are very grateful for your participation in this webinar. We believe that you have added value. You have asked questions which are provoking and questions that make the presentations more, informative. And in that case, we are looking forward to, as we have your email addresses, we could give the panelists an opportunity to pen down a few things for your, your questions. At the same time, they form the database of the questions that we look forward to really addressing some of the things that we are doing and making them better. We also take this opportunity to welcome you to the next webinar. We'll be dealing with the automotive sector. That it will be on 26th of October. And it will focus on the automotive sector, which is very key in terms of mobility. At the same time, creating the industrialization, and at the same time, promoting research and development and utilizing the resources we have in the continent. Other than that, on 25th, we are looking forward to launching a ARSO UNIDO project on standardization, which is supporting regional quality and regulatory infrastructures, value chain priorities that will be a collaboration between ourselves and also with UNIDO. So we welcome you to all these initiatives. At the same time, wishing that as we move forward and as we invite you to these webinars, we would like that you are able to look at the theme and sending your questions in time so that we are able to also task our panelists with the perspectives that you have. If there are certain positions you think we should be looking at taking, it will be useful that we get the questions early, we get the considerations early, and then we can look at the presentations responding to such questions very much in time. I thank you all, and I assure you that those who are registered, we will send the presentations to you. We will send all the information that we can to you so that you can utilize this in your own applications. I thank you very much, and I wish you the best for the remaining time of the day. I wish to see you also in the next engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin.
Okay.
And thank you all of the presenters today.
Thank you.